Alright everybody, welcome back to another video. As you guys can probably already tell, I'm in a different environment now, so I'm actually in my apartment. So some of you guys have already seen this twice or so now, so I've done a live stream on my own, and then I've done a live stream with Kyle. As you guys may have known, on Fridays we always do a live stream. So anyway, I'm gonna be trying something a little bit different. As you guys know, I have my Bruce Wang on now, so got myself some AirPods now that I'm back in the States for the time being. And so hopefully you do a little bit more of upgrading with equipment as well. So I got a nice little ring light as well to help out with some of the lighting aspect of things. Things were not cheap when I was living in Trinidad and Tobago, so I appreciate your guys' patience as I upgraded some of that equipment. But today specifically, I want to talk a lot about 5 or so positions that I've kind of taken over the past month or so. And it's a little bit different for me, but it's something that I believe that might be a nice little change in the portfolio and welcome the portfolio. Now that I've actually crossed the $30,000 threshold this year for, say, sort of investing income, whether it's through dividends, YouTube, and some of these other sort of income streams, options being one of them as well, I thought it was a little bit prudent of me to kind of add an additional revenue stream kind of coming into the portfolio, and also put a little bit more of long-term bets into the portfolio as well. So I'm definitely going to focus heavily on continued long-term growth through QQQ, ITOT, which are kind of my big ETFs that I utilize. But I'm also going to be utilizing dividend portfolio as well, so definitely for sure for that. But I also want to get a little bit more into the long-term, I guess, spec plays as well. But I do believe one of them, I've worked as a stakeholder in one of them as well, which you'll see is Palantir. I'll just say the name of it. And I've worked as a stakeholder. I've worked with the company, I guess, over the past 4 or 5 years as well at the company that I work for. So they help provide data analytics for us. And so I did take a stake in that when that IPO'd just 2-3 weeks ago. So it took a pretty big chunk, not a big, I guess in some cases, but for me and probably for some of you guys, a big chunk of investment in that. And really just want to walk through that. I did also write some puts on that as well for the next year, because I do believe it's going to go up over the long term. And if it did go down, it would be something that I'd want to buy more of in the future. So that was an opportunity for me to potentially buy more of Palantir as well. And then I did invest in some other positions that are spec plays that is the same gentleman that from Social Capital that took Virgin Galactic public. It's taking Open Door public, and it's taking a third company public as well. So IPOA is something that's already kind of transitioned into Virgin Galactic, which is now in my Roth. So I have about 100 shares of that as well. IPOB, it's going to be Open Door eventually. I took a 100 share position in that. IPOC did the same, and so I'm going to continue with the 3 additional ones that have come out: IPOD, IPOE, IPOF. And so we'll walk through that a little bit today, see how much I paid for each individual 100 share block. But now I think what we're probably going to do is hop right into quickly the portfolio, and you'll probably see me switch on and off between camera on me and then camera on the computer. So we're going to try something a little bit different there. So let me guys know in the comments section down below if you guys enjoy that. But currently the portfolio is sitting around 560,000. It's not completely updated in this particular Google spreadsheet here, but we're definitely getting up there. I did buy my celebration bottle, which you guys will probably see in some shape or form in the future if I do get to that. But the portfolio is looking healthy, and I do anticipate it to continue to grow for the foreseeable future. The income here is a little bit low, just based off the fact that there's a few stocks that are being stubborn and not wanting to update in the Google spreadsheet, but most of the positions update rather quickly. That's just 1 or 2 of them that are rather big positions actually, that are being a little bit stubborn. But actually hopping into the actual dividend aspect of the portfolio, actually hopping into the actual companies that I want to talk about today, the 5 different positions that I've kind of taken. We'll start here first with Palantir. So the day that it actually IPO'd, I put a limit order for $10 a share. I was hoping to get anything below 15 because I think the long-term potential of the organization is great. And so I was thinking, okay, thinking about how everyone went crazy for Snowflake, I anticipated the same for Palantir. because it's a very similar company, slightly different, a little bit less focused on the masses, a little bit more focused on long-term contractual agreements with larger organizations, specifically the government, specifically the company I work for, and some of these other companies like GM and the like. So I actually ended up being that surprised later in the day when it kind of didn't skyrocket like Snowflake, and I'm actually kind of happy it didn't. I think that Palantir has a long-term solution and going to continue to grow into a long-term solution for data analytics that people don't necessarily understand fully yet. And I've just seen some of the capabilities that they've done for our company that I work for, and it really ends up being a pretty good way to kind of look at it. So to hit the nail on the head, about 10 shares, 1,000 shares, about $10, I bought 1,000 shares at $10 a piece, and I am perfectly fine with the fact that it's gone down to $9 flat over the past couple of weeks. I've been happy that it went up to $11.50. I think right now is a good spot for it. And if you guys haven't initiated a position, do your own due diligence and look at it and see if it's something that you might want to get involved in. But I think it's a phenomenal company with a lot of growth potential in the future. And like I said, I was willing to pay up to $15 a share. And I think that probably put it at like a $30-ish billion valuation. And I think in the long run, this company could be worth $150 billion pretty easily, depending on if the data analytics and space continues to grow as it is. I mean, I think we're seeing 30-40% revenue jumps every single year for this particular industry. And I think it's in its infancy, to be 100% honest with you. So I think Palantir is relatively good. They're honing in on a couple of really good products, some of which that I've helped them develop very early on in the partnership with my company and theirs. So really excited as a stakeholder and a shareholder now to see their success in the future. And I think unfortunately a lot of people are sleeping on the opportunity. But of course, it's like anything, companies are dynamic just like everything else, and maybe it's just my bias of my stakeholdership that I've had, helping that company kind of get off the ground where I want it to succeed. But we will see in the future. But then hopping over into that a little bit more, I saw the opportunity where options, which some of you guys know, I've been doing a lot of cash secured puts and covered calls, but specifically on this end, I did a cash secured put on Palantir, looking specifically, and it just seemed like the implied volatility of Palantir just seemed to be way off, and I think it's probably based off the fact that the options just kind of really started trading a couple days ago. And so with the wild swings in the share price going from, I guess, $11.50 down to $9, and not having a lot of history, I think that the implied volatility ends up showing, well, this thing can go absolutely anywhere, right? I mean, it's a huge cloud if you were to kind of look at the band, what the share price could be over the next, let's say, 10, 20 years, right? And so when you try to condense that into a year, next week, or even a year, 2-year sort of time frame, the implied volatility kind of goes way up. And when that happens, you get huge option premiums. And so I took an opportunity here to say, well, if I were to buy more shares at Palantir, what price would it be and what time horizon? And so I said, okay, well, by November of next year, if the share price goes down to $8, I'd be more than willing to buy another 1,500 shares here. So on the screen, what you're probably seeing here is 15 contracts here for $8. But basically, I'm setting aside $12,000, so 15 contracts at $8 a piece. That's basically $12,000 that I'm setting aside. In order to enter that contract, I got paid $3,600. So relatively quickly, you get paid a pretty good chunk of money. So about 20 to 30% on my money just to kind of wait. And worst case scenario is it doesn't drop below $8 by the time November 2021 hits, and I get to walk away with that $3,600. Worst case scenario, I lose the difference between setting aside that 12 grand and that $3,600 that I got. So a little bit less than 8 grand is potentially how much I'd lose, but that's only if the company goes bankrupt. My thought is, I honestly don't think the company is going to go bankrupt. I think over the next year or so, people will start to realize the capabilities of Palantir and the growth of it will kind of come into play, because it's trading at a much cheaper valuation than Snowflake. I think Snowflake was trading at like 170 times price to sales. Palantir is trading at way less. I think it was trading at like 14 or 15 times price to sales. So just in that respect, Palantir in the same exact sort of metric is trading a tenth of the price compared to Snowflake, and they're basically going after the same thing. It's just one is going after smaller clients and the other one is going after bigger elephants. So anyway, I thought that this one was a good opportunity for me. You could see already that I've, if I wanted to buy it back for 3,200 bucks, I could do that. But honestly, I think I'm just gonna wait for a little bit. Maybe if it goes down to say 60 cents a contract or something like that, maybe I'll buy it back and be able to pocket that $3,000 without any risk. But we will see in the future. But basically sold it for $2.40 a contract, times that by 15. That's where you get the 3,600 bucks. And I'll wait to see what ends up happening. But I honestly don't think that by the next year it'll be $8 a share. But if it is, I'll probably buy more because I think the long-term potential of the organization is really healthy. Then we flow a little bit into the IPOD, IPOE, IPOF stocks that I bought here. And so this is Social Capital, head of Sophia. Everyone's probably familiar with Virgin Galactic, maybe Open Door that's kind of going public right now. And basically what ends up happening is you have Chamath, who's basically taking these 3 additional companies kind of public to kind of set aside some cash. So in the case of IPOD, it's 350 million. You can kind of see he's selling $10 a share, 35 million shares here. Then you have IPOE, which is 65 million shares at $10 a piece as well, so that's 650 million. Then you have IPOF, which is the biggest one. It's about $1 billion kind of being set aside. And so you're looking at 100 million shares being sold at $10 a piece. And so I just decided to throw $1,000 into each of it. So of course, now that it's trading on the open market, you'll see that it's not trading at $10 a share anymore because people can buy in and out of it. And so what I have here is, you can see I have IPOF on the screen right now. So I bought that at $10.42. So I bought 100 shares of that. So just over $1,000 worth of that bad boy. Then you see that I bought IPOE as well. And that basically was $10.73 a share. So just under 1,100 bucks for those 100 shares. And then you'll also see that I bought IPOD, which is $11.36 a share. Now the reason why all these are different prices, not exactly too sure. Maybe it's because IPOD is probably going to be the one that goes public first. So maybe people are getting hyped up about that. But keep in mind, I also have IPOC, which is kind of sitting there waiting as well. And I think they might have announced that they're going to do something with it. I'm trying to remember. No, they did. It's like a health app or something like that. It's like a teledoc almost, and people weren't so excited about that. But the same thing with Open Door kind of happened. People weren't so excited, and then I think they started to do a little bit more due diligence and see a little bit about the terms and the price. And now IPOB is trading at $24, $25 a share. So I think the potential for these is really good. Virgin Galactic is sitting at, above $20 a share as well. So if you were able to buy into these at say 10, 12 bucks, you might be able to double your money relatively quickly, depending on how quickly and how good of a company and merge it might be. And then the potential for it to continue to grow after it kind of merges with this blank check company is depending on what you think it could be worth. So Virgin Galactic could be a $75 billion company one day, and it's trading at less than 15 billion at the moment. So very dependent on what you think is the future of each individual organization. Maybe you just want to get that quick pop and then sell. So maybe for Open Door, I've thought about it as well. But I figured, hey, it seems like a really cool concept, being able to sell houses online with relative ease, not have to deal with banks, not having to deal with real estate agents, getting appraised, all that junk. Just within 24 hours, get everything kind of in your hands and get an offer. That sounds pretty nice. So I think a lot of people might gravitate towards that as it becomes more mainstream, and I think that the potential could be there. So if there's other opportunities like that with IPOD, IPOE, IPOF, then I'd be willing to put $1,000 into it, whether it goes into zero or whether it goes to $5,000, $6,000, $10,000. I'd be willing to see, but it's an opportunity for me to potentially look at what the future may hold. And that's relatively it. The other one, I don't really want to talk about too much. It's basically a highly on warrants, which my buddy Ryan from Independent Investor kind of turned me on to. And I think that he's just basically looking at the potential share price versus what the warrants would kind of be executable at to get you a couple dollars a share here on each individual warrant that you would be able to basically get back. So he turned me on to that, but I'll let him explain that to you a little bit more. He's got a lot more stake in the game than I do, and he just put out a really good video about it. So feel free to hop over to his channel. He's my guy. Definitely somebody I keep in my circle for sure, because he's just, you know, he's been on his game, and he's been doing this a little bit longer than I have, and he's done a really good job. And you know, I like to surround myself with people like Ryan, because he's definitely somebody that I look up to. He's very articulate. It's something I aspire to be a little bit more of. And he runs a great show on Friday nights if you guys haven't watched it already. So be sure to check him out on Friday nights as well. And Kyle and I soon up follow right after him. So that's actually tonight. I forgot about that. So check us later tonight, and make sure you check the link out in the description below, because that's where also send you guys to both Ryan's channel and my channel. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna do some quick editing here and get this video up, and I'll talk to you guys in the new on the podcast tonight. Talk to you guys on the stream tonight, and hopefully you guys like the new view. We'll hopefully get it souped up. I don't have a couch yet. It's been about 2 weeks, no, a week and a half, and I still don't have a couch. I just don't want to spend money on something I don't like. So maybe I'll go get a couch tomorrow. Who knows, if I find something I like. So anyway, guys, talk to you later. Cheers.